Hi guys, this is Breaker, and I am back with another replay that I took from Casted, subsection of Reddit, and it looks like we're going to have a Diamond versus Masters level ZVP, and I'm thinking this is going to be really interesting. By the way, I apologize if my microphone is coming in a little bit louder than usual. Of course, it's been 10 days since I've last casted. Well, actually, it's kind of a lie. It's actually been, there was a huge 10-day gap where I actually didn't have any opportunity to cast anything, but let's go ahead and just cast it. In the 12 o'clock position, spawning is our blue Zerg, I see. Frostalgia, belonging to MGUx clan. In our 6 o'clock position, Protoss would have to be Opeth. And I gotta say, the one thing that Blizzard has done to make it more difficult to the amateur caster like myself is that they've made it much more difficult to actually tell apart who's on the left and who's on the right. Sure, we've got, you know, I don't know, is this more on the right, or I can't really tell who's on the left and who's on the right on this map. It just makes it a little difficult. It'd be nice to actually kind of turn this over to about this direction. Yeah. But, wait a minute. Hold on. Ah, there we go. Colors. This way. Okay, I can use that to tell apart. Well, let's go ahead and talk about this map for a little bit. I haven't had extensive experience playing on this map before. I did get proxy double raxed on it as a Zerg player. And I guess there's a lot of room for proxy shenanigans. But of course, Zerg overlords and lings kind of make it a little difficult to actually spot that. Like, I mean, think about it. There's just so much that could happen, and it could go so wrong for either player. But nonetheless, I think this is possibly one of those maps that could only be in the map pool for a few, I don't know, I wouldn't say more than 2 seasons, I think. I mean, yes, it's a nice map. Yes, there's a lot of good things about it. But at the same time, there's a lot of things that make it unconventional. I'm aware that it's used in the GSL, but at the same time, we're not all the pro players. And, whoa, what is this? What is our drone here doing? Okay, it's just sitting there. And it was looking almost like he was going to go ahead and put a proxy hatch down right there. And of course, he's just going to throw down his own. No harm done. But the question is, where does Frostalgia go from here? Does he go ahead and try and take a third? Because like this, you could take one right here. It's a little more distant. This one's a little closer to home, but at the same time, it's so... I feel that taking a third on this map is extremely difficult for a Zerg player. I mean, once you stop and examine it for a moment. Talking about other details, I'm thinking, you know, this map could be very much ideal for the Linux style ZVP Ling Ultra Infestor style. But at the same time, you're basically forced to go that style if you play on this map as a Zerg, I think. Like, there's just something about taking an expo here that I just don't feel comfortable about. And the same thing over here. I just can't quite say what it is as it comes to mind. And I think it's simply given the very fact that everything here, you know, this is more exposed than a streaker running through a football stadium, excuse me. Meanwhile, back at home, we've got double assimilators going down at the main. Natural hasn't gotten started just yet, but of course we still have another minute or so to wait and see what our Protoss opponent is going to be doing versus our Zerg, our possibly unsuspecting Zerg. But now he's going over here and he's checking to see if there's no third. And to this point, there's actually been none in the game thus far. We have 2 more lings being cranked out, as the Zelnaga watchtowers have already been taken at the center of the map. I feel like I kind of approve of that decision, but these lings, oh, they just missed the probe. They just missed the probe. That's, I wouldn't say the biggest issue in the planet. It's not the biggest worry. But at the same time, that probe has the ability to throw down all kinds of things that you do not want to deal with as a Zerg player, and that includes proxy pylons. And he's just waiting to see when Frostalgia is going to take his third. If ever, the lings not quite getting pulled back. Alright, so Opeth. What is he going to be doing? Robo now going down. 6 minutes in. This looks to have the tempo of a 3 immortal timing. Double evolution chambers going down right now. There's no Roach Warren yet. No indications that there may be a need for a Roach Warren. In fact, that could possibly be, you know, one of Frostalgia's worst enemies right now. It simply depends on what is in production and when we see it in production here from our red toss. This one sentry, though, I feel it's not in the right position. In fact, I think there's an even bigger gap right here for a huge Ling run by once we stop and examine that. I mean, that looks pretty exposed, right? And a Zealot gets into the main. He sees everything. He sees everything. He's like, okay, no gases yet, no third. At least no third where he scouted just yet. And Opeth is probably thinking, okay, what the hell is this? What am I playing against? But at the same time, with the given amount of infrastructure that we see from Opeth, this is looking a teeny bit more and more like he's just... How do I say this? There we go, the Twilight Council. That's what I was going to say. Taking a third. Twilight Council is always, almost always, indicative of taking a third base. And we only have 5 gateways here. This is not an all-in. And finally, we have the delayed third coming down for Frostalgia. He's getting lair tech after he gets his Carapace and melee started. So this has the definitive air of... What's the word I'm looking for? Linux style Ling Infestor Ultra. And it's one of those builds as a Zerg player that you don't really see. It's not all that obvious. He's also going to throw down the Baneling Nest, because that'll do some good against Zealots in high numbers. Oh, man, some cannons are going down. But does our Zerg know about this? This is pretty big. Frostalgia, you know, he's in a position where he could end up losing that hatchery. And a couple of Stalkers are being warped in. And I think they're just here to basically safeguard whatever's going to happen. Oh, no, wait. Oh, man. Is that going to finish? Is that going to finish? I think it was a little much to actually throw down those extra 2 cannons, because once you examine the value overall that was spent here, Stalkers and everything, this is a staging ground. I like, you know, I don't like, I don't hate, I don't disapprove of this decision. But at the same time, we also have a Warp Prism that's going into the main of Frostalgia, and this is going to make a lot more trouble for him to hold the, you know, just the future coming engagements. And he's now getting his production up, of course, with that proxy, or not proxy, but macro hatch that we saw earlier. +2/+2 is now on the way, and the Warp Prism is just outside the main. More and more Stalkers building up over here as we see a somewhat hesitant to take a third base Protoss just yet. He's wondering, I think, do I tack on more infrastructure, or do I just go straight for a third? And it looks like the answer is infrastructure. This could possibly be an all-in. Third base being taken over here. It's been unspotted to this point just yet. But now Opeth is going to send some units into the main, but I'm sure they will be dealt with adequately by the number of Lings and Banelings available here. They should be able to actually take care of it with relative ease. But the Stalkers moving out here on creep are pulling the main army away from the main, which is not what he wants to do right now. Overseer is being morphed right now. Interesting choice. There's no Dark Shrine just yet. That's what makes this so, I think, terribly interesting. But the Banelings could be the heroes of the day. Queen's still alive. And it's going to try and target down the Warp Prism, but it gets away. Meanwhile, double-pronged engagements here. And this is the only problem with the Blink Stalker style that we see coming from our Protoss. He hasn't, you know, he doesn't have armor upgrades. He does have one on the way. But conversely, I mean, our Zerg player is just, he's got so much more stronger Lings once that +2/+2 finishes up. It looks like, ah, there we go. Unfortunately, one of those evolution chambers was taken down. There's a warp in going down at the third. It looks like these Zealots are going to try and take it down, but the Lings here are more than adequate to deal with that. Meanwhile, the army over here of Opeth is moving out yet again, and just basically pulling the attention of Frostalgia away. He's actually, you know, he's got to deal with harassment on all ends here, and this is a lot more difficult than it actually looks like from an observer's perspective. You have to do so much multitasking. You have to do so much Ling splitting to actually deal with this correctly and aptly. But now I think Frostalgia should be getting a little bit frustrated and thinking to himself, okay, I need static defenses to deal with this adequately. And now the sign that our Protoss is going all in. He's getting the Dark Shrine. This would have been a strong decision earlier on, but the problem is those Archons, they're not going to be available in the near future. Meanwhile, huge surround here on all of the Stalkers. And this is just one huge dirty cake for our Protoss right now. +2 melee Zergling's going to be able to just deal out wonders on these presently just +1 armor Protoss units that are coming in little by little, piece by piece. and the main should be starting to go dry for both of our players. Yes, at the 18-minute mark, that's typically when it starts to turn around. The Overseer was targeted down, so I think that means maybe, just maybe, Opeth knows what's up. Or, excuse me, not Opeth, but rather... Oh, man. Frostalgia knows what's up. The DTs are going to start targeting down the hatches in the main. The Overseers... Oh, no, is that a misclick? Oh, man. He's actually sending everything that he's got to the third. It looks like he's not going to be able to hold the main. He's lost that hatch, but he still has his layer tech. He's got the option to make Hive, but at the same time, he is... Well, you know, I think if we examine the situation that both players are in, I think Frostalgia may have a slight advantage. He certainly has a supply lead advantage, but he's got the wrong units for the job. There's 2 Archons morphing right here, and some Zealots are joining the party as well. But the one way he has an advantage is if he can hold on to his third, his opponent's main will go dry, and his opponent has basically made no indications of taking an Expo just yet, except for the fact that he's taken a Twilight Council. And usually that's what's good. That's better used earlier on in the game than right now. Meanwhile, that was just a tap to the head, and it looks like there's going to be a huge jab to the third pretty soon here. And that could be the one that basically cuts off the breadbasket of our Zerg, but I think our Protoss is being a little bit hesitant. If he had a Mothership Core with all that, it would be great, though. Oh, man. Here we go. The drones, they have to be pulled. They have to be pulled. The drones have to be pulled. Otherwise, yeah, there we go. Third is going to fall. There's no saving that. And now we have all of these Lings coming in to deal with this. The Zealots are caught now in green gloop that we call the fungal growth, and the Zealots are going into the main as well to deal with what Frostalgia has there, rebuilding. And amazingly, he cleans all of that up, but at the same time, you know, he's got the money to rebuild those, but he's got to maintain his economy. The main hatch is being targeted down by these Zealots. There's no queens to deal with the Warp Prism just yet, and I think it may just fall yet again. Oh. But now with these Infestors, we have Frostalgia saying, okay, Opeth, you're not getting away. Not with that Warp Prism, not again. Observers just coupling each other. Maybe we're going to see a baby Observer in the near future, and finally the Zealot, or excuse me, the Overlord in the main has been dealt with. You know, I take that back, actually. I think Frostalgia is going to have an advantage in 2 methods very soon. Yes, he does. He is basically triple expoing, quadruple expoing, however you choose to examine the expoing right now. He's going to have an economic advantage if just 1 or 2 of those hatches finishes up. But the drones have been caught distance mining here. And another Warp Prism is being sent out. Detection is not available everywhere just yet. And I'm thinking it would be, wow, 1 base Ultra economy. Or, excuse me, 1 base Hive economy, if you will. Well, this has been cut on too. So no matter what we see from Frostalgia in the near future, you know, he's going to be a little bit behind. And I think that's a little bit much in the way of DTs being warped in right there. They're actually going to try and get some drone kills before they go for that hatch. But, yeah, the question is, will we see it finish? And it was not canceled. That's kind of big. That's 300 minerals we're not going to see him getting back. And, but at the same time, if all of these DTs cannot get away... Oh, man. It's a little bit difficult to say. Alright. Well, I'm thinking the Lings aren't quite enough to deal with this just yet. Zealot's now warping in on this as well, and it's just turning into one huge nasty fight that Frostalgia just can't really deal with. Meanwhile, the main is going dry for Opeth. Oh, man. And this is pretty big. I think he's in a position where he could end up losing this base, but for the time being, we actually don't have Opeth quite akin to that, and now he is. He hasn't seen it yet. Oh, no. Damn it, no. Right, let me just fast forward that just a teeny bit. Alright, sorry, I didn't want to lose that. Alright, so he saw the creep here. And now he's going to see more in the near future. But meanwhile, I mean, we still have re-established economy, if you will, for Frostalgia. So he's not too terribly far behind, but he's actually really far behind in the way of army supply. Not really far, but you know, significantly far behind. Economy-wise, he's just now getting everything back online. He's got to get those drones back home. Checking the worker count right now, it's 62 to 47. He is at a deficit there. And now the Ultras are coming into the mix. Okay, so here we go. Everything is now getting mashed up here. These Ultras only 2-2, but the splash damage is so good and positioning is beautiful. The stacked fungal growths are making a huge difference in this engagement. No recall until it's too late, and just about all of Opeth's army was lost in that engagement. But behind that, he did manage to reestablish economy at his third. Oversaturated presently, but he's going to be able to retake the assimilator soon, and I don't think, you know, I think Frostalgia is following that Lord of the Rings philosophy by saying, the closer I am to danger, the farther I am from harm, and that could not be further from the truth, at least presently. But once that hatch finishes, War Prism's going to see the creep, and then maybe we'll see Opeth do something about that. Mineral field's getting depleted left and right. The natural dry, the main dry. Fourth base being reestablished for Frostalgia, a player that was basically behind this entire game, but now could that be turned around? Opeth on 1 base economy, 1.5 base economy. Actually, now effectively 1 base economy. Gonna be able to save that 4th hatch. Bit is now being reestablished at what was originally the 3rd. And this is rather interesting. I guess there was some kind of harassment that I didn't see here. Perhaps the Ultras just came here to check. Fourth base now being established just now by Opeth. And I'm wondering what is next on the agenda for Frostalgia, or what is next on the agenda for Opeth besides dying or trying to kill each other. The fourth base. Fourth base barely dies. Barely dies. That was so clutch. The way those, the way those zealots died there, that was just, wow. But with that, we see the War Prism shut down. Probe sees this base, pretty sure. So, when will we see a pylon, if ever? There we do. DTs everywhere. Oh, man. So here we go. Huge assault on the fourth base, though, and that's gonna really tear our Protoss this day apart. These Ultras are 5-3 now. They're gonna be able to do max damage, and the Protoss army's got +3 attack and only +1 armor, but on armor on Archons is basically useless. They're just huge psionic tanks, and that's about it. And now we see the fourth base will gradually fall with nothing left to resist. But behind that, there was a price. We have Opeth taking down his opponent's, what was, 5th base? 5th base? I don't know. We've lost so many bases now, it's just hard to say. But this is even bigger. No static detection, guys. That can cost you a game. Playing this all out with basically Wings of Liberty style gameplay, if you will. Both players actually going for, basically mass Wings of Liberty style play, if you will. Just putting an Overseer there and a few Spine Crawlers actually does the trick, but, I don't really blame Frostalgia for not having Spine Crawlers. He's never really had that kind of economy the entire game. But now I think he knows. He may just know what kind of position he's in, but his scouting really needs some work. He doesn't know about that fourth base just yet. DTs were caught onto and taken down, with, I think, almost nothing there being lost except for a few hit points on those Ultras. And now this is it. This is the final mining base. If we see Opeth lose this, he's basically done for. I mean, the supply difference is 148 to 68. What else can be done? Oh, and that huge fungal growth! Oh my god, that was just the sickest, I think, attack I've seen in a long time. But wow, that fungal growth is actually pretty epic too. DT's trying to just get out of there, but that's it. That's the last hope of our red Protoss. That's it. If he doesn't have this, he's done for. And now they've been caught on too, but they're going to try and get a few drone kills, which at this point may be totally irrelevant. Now doing everything they can to evade the control, or evade the attacks of the Ultras is being done. But being annoying nonetheless, trying to keep himself alive in this game. Opeth reminds me of, I think, a Korean-style Protoss player. Really, I say this with, what's the word I'm looking for? I'm saying this in the essence that he does whatever he can to stay in this game, and he's he's doing it really well. I mean, you know, there it is. But at the same time, he just realized, hey, I can't do this. I've got 37 supply. He's got so many ultras and so many infestors. And with that, we just see him throwing out the GG. So, yeah. Alright, guys. So if you liked what you saw here today, just go ahead and click on the subscribe button. This is Breaker. I'll see you guys next time.